The Middle of the Pack podcast. Hey runners, welcome to the Middle of the Pack podcast, the podcast that keeps you moving. I'm your host Padraig, and I'm thrilled to have you join me today. We're lacing up our shoes and we're ready to talk about all things running. I'm a runner just like you, navigating the ups and downs of training, racing, and everything in between. We'll dive into practical tips and real conversations about what it's like to be a runner who's chasing progress and not perfection. So, whether you're starting out on your running journey, a middle of the pack runner, or a seasoned marathoner, this podcast is for you. So let's get started and dive in to the Middle of the Pack podcast.
And this is a really funny tip now for your listeners. So I find when I have done like a long run and I know it's there and I can feel it, I've often gone out for dinner that night in a pair of wedges or heels. It's gone the next morning.
Welcome to episode 4 of Middle of the Pack podcast. And there you heard Laura Fleming telling an interesting story, which we will reveal later on what that was all about. But she is a nurse, a mother, and a fabulous runner, real middle of the pack runner, and delighted to have her with me on this show, talking about all things running, her work, and how she juggles all those things. So let's get straight down to it with our episode 4 of Middle of the Pack with Laura Fleming.
Yeah, I'm good. Yes, I'm good. Yeah, I am. I'm good now. Thank you.
But tell me, I started first when I started thinking about doing this first, when I did the Runner's Diary podcast. Then I started the old TikTok and Instagram, and I was going, I'm looking for people to follow that I think would be interesting. And that's when I came across you first, obviously. So tell me a little bit about you first and your life, and then how you get into running and how you got into, coping with the busy life and all the running training that you have to do. Because I find that very interesting as you go through your TikTok, but now that I have you here, you can talk me through it as well if you can.
Yeah. So I actually started running in 2010, and like that, it was Couch to 5K. And I went from being, my friends still slag me, they're like, you were the most inactive person, you wouldn't walk to a bus stop. And I don't know how I kind of decided to get into running. And I did one day, and it was the Couch to 5K app that I did. And I remember saying it on my TikTok one day, you'd be running along, and I think up to the first 3 kilometers is it's so difficult, isn't it? When you're starting out running. And I remember using lampposts, to kind of get from one to the other and then getting to the second one further. And that's how it kind of started. And then I remember doing the VHI Women's Marathon and then doing a half. And then I got pregnant. So I was 27, I think, and had my first baby. And I was working up in Dublin at the time. And then I had my second baby 2 years later, and then my third child as well. So I had 3 children under 5. So there was a bit of running in between them. And I actually ran in one of the pregnancies as well. I ran my second pregnancy till I was about 28 weeks. That was slow, but it was, slow and steady. And on the third, I would have ran a little bit, but not a huge amount. So had the 3 babies, and then I had a car accident after having the third baby. So that kind of put a stop to the running for a little while, just with a back injury and a shoulder injury. And then my marriage broke down when the youngest baby was 18 months. So they were probably still under 6.5. I suppose the 3 were under 6.5 at that point. And that's when I kind of started getting back into running a lot.
Yeah.
It was probably the thing for me that helped me cope. And then we went right into the pandemic. It was 6 months before the pandemic. And I'm an emergency nurse. So it was a difficult place to work. Like all of the hospital, every area in the hospital was difficult.
So at this stage, you're looking after the 3 children.
Yeah.
You're in a pandemic.
Yeah.
You still have to work. So how did you balance the children and work, really, to start with? Never mind running.
I know, that's it. So at the time, myself and my ex-husband, we're both shift workers. We were both able to kind of balance it between us. So it was, in a way, it was fine because we were able to kind of work opposite each other completely. And that's how I kind of balanced it. And what I did was I used to go to work in the morning. He'd have them, and I used to leave early to go to work, and I'd always run before my shift. And I remember running before my shift, and I was trying to deal with, I suppose, the fear of going into work and not knowing what we were kind of going into. Were we going to
Hmm.
get this surge that they were all talking about? Where I worked at the time, there was a lot of meat factories around us, so we were getting kind of quite a lot of patients in from them, and they were really sick.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, really sick. So, we had that fear every day. Was today going to be the surge? Or you get a call to say someone was coming in, and we didn't really know much about COVID. We didn't know how we were going to be affected. And unfortunately, we saw a lot of our colleagues get really, really sick and really unwell from it. It was a really scary time. So I used to go to, I used to start my shift at, say, 7:30. So I would get to the hospital around 6:30, and I would run for half an hour and then have my shower and get changed. But it was a way for me to deal with what was happening in my personal life. I remember at the time I used to run along, probably crying for the half an hour, but then by the time I get to the hospital, my face would be so red. But people would be like, "That's just Laura running. She's just
yeah,
getting
yeah.
around the town there." And it was a great kind of a cover up, and it kind of straightened my head out before I got into work. It was the only time I had to kind of process things because you were 13 hours in on an emergency shift. You were back home, the kids. So running was the only time I got to process probably what was happening in work and what we were dealing with, the fear of that. And then also, unfortunately, a marriage breakdown and the fallout from that. So it really was how I kind of really got into running and how I kind of became so consistent with it because it was my little lifeline going doing my runs before my shifts. It just was the thing that I knew I was able to do and I had the time to do it at that point. So so that's how I kind of got into it
It is interesting because,
in a big
like,
way.
you're talking about a very difficult situation. I mean, marriage breakdown, looking after three kids, very difficult job. But then you're talking about being consistent with running, which is so important as a runner, never mind balancing your life. And I mean, I know myself, even when I get out and I'm running, like everything just falls into place a little bit better. You can
Yeah,
think things through. So yeah, it must have been a help during. I wasn't run. I hadn't even started running in the pandemic, but
yeah,
I probably wish I had. Um,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
so just jumping forward a little bit then, so you went from couch to 5K,
Yeah.
even in the general, forget the pandemic, we're into normal life. Coping with the job that you have and training for a marathon block must be very tough as well then.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's a lot. It's a lot of planning. It definitely. And I didn't have a running coach or anything like that, so I used the Runner app for
Hmm.
a couple of the marathons. So I've ran 5 marathons. I've ran Dublin in 2022, 23. Then I ran Cork in 24, and I ran Westport in 25 and Cork in 25. And they were in an 8-week block, Cork and Westport. So after Cork, I said I would never do a marathon again. And then as it got closer, I was like, no, 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 that was such a bad marathon. I'm going back to see if I can salvage it a bit. So,
Yeah, yeah.
that's how I ended up. And then I did the fifth for charity this year.
And what kind of
But
times are you running in? You're similar to me, are you? Or
yeah, I think I'm about 4.5.
oh,
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
I 4:26 is my best. I would love to get in under 4:15. I suppose where I'm consistent, I don't have the volume probably that I need to get in because time wise, I'm probably still struggle with that quite a bit.
yeah,
Um, but I would have kind of gone from 10K up to half marathon very quick. And then I got it through, say, 22, 21, 22. I was running a half a marathon probably every second week. I wouldn't have had the boys every second Friday. And when they went to school and if I was off, I would have run a half a marathon. And I just kind of built it on that then. And then decided in 2022 that I wanted to try run a marathon.
yeah,
Um, I met my partner in the January of 2022. And I said it to him in passing one day, and he was like, "You'd be well able. You're running half marathons for fun." I was kind of running him around here. So he was kind of the one that gave me the push, to be honest,
Yeah.
um, to do it. And I told him that I was a one marathon and done type of a girl. And yeah, it hasn't really worked out like that.
The amount of people that say that, and
Yeah.
the amount of people, sometimes I believe when they say it, but then you see them like 3 months later and they're going, I might just do Cork again, or I
And
might just,
you really believe it at the time. You really
yeah,
believe it at the time. You're like, absolutely not. And then you find yourself signing up. Regarding balancing the marathon training and work, yeah, I took on I think I followed the Dublin Marathon plan for the first year. And I found that quite good. But I definitely needed something where I was being guided first day. I didn't do any strength and conditioning or anything on the first marathon, and I got injured after it. I got plantar fasciitis in my left foot, and that took months to rehab.
yeah,
So I was kind of determined then for the second Dublin to do that. So I did follow the Dublin Marathon plan again, but then kind of did my own, say, Pilates, yoga, and I would have been in the gym kind of say before the kids. So I kind of I would have had some weights here in the house. And so I just did home workouts here. And then yeah, for the third and the fourth, and then third, fourth, and fifth, I did the runner plan. So I find that brilliant because it kind of just sets it all out in the week. And as you can bring in your strength, your Pilates, your yoga, and none of them are more than half an hour, which is all I have to do is, strength or home workout some days. Like if I'm trying to do them at home here, I'll often have the lads, like one of them in the bath.
yeah. I was going to say, you,
Yeah,
you did a
have them out
TikTok.
outside the door. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'll have the mat outside the door and we'll have the chats while I'm working out. Or I'll get up early in the morning before they're awake and do a workout then, or if they've gone down to bed. But it's having a plan is probably the most important thing. I need to know what days of the week I can fit it all in. And it doesn't often happen because a plan is a plan, but life happens. But I think having the structure there does help.
and with runner, you can move around as well, can't you? You can
Yeah,
move your
that's it. So I
days.
often move the days around. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so, what do your long runs look like? Are they long, or do you not do that because of your busy life?
No, I try and even get so during the summer it's difficult, and I think Fergal and Angeline were saying last week how
Yeah,
difficult summer training is, and I completely relate to that because the boys are off. So as well as emergency nursing, I also teach first aid for businesses, and then I do the event medicine. So some days, if they're off or if they're in their dad's house, I'm teaching that. So that would have been kind of typically my day for a long run. So often I have to move it around. So typically people do their long run on a Sunday. My long runs could be a Friday, or if the boys are with their dad, I fit it in, but it could be any day of the week then. But I have to move. You're not going to do you could do your interval or your tempo training session the day before, but it does make it more difficult the long
mm,
run, doesn't it?
absolutely. Yeah,
So I am because yeah, definitely. So I try and kind of sometimes I end up paring back the long run to kind of fit in with the week and tacking on the extra kilometers the following week. I've often had to do that. So for example, if I'd say a 20K one week and a 22 the next week, I might have to bring it back to 16K and then up the next week to 24. And I suppose I can balance it out because I'm running that long. My body can take it. But I suppose I wouldn't recommend that for a first time runner
yeah,
unless you're quite confident. Because, you're not going to up your mileage drastically week on week. But I suppose I'm a little bit more experienced now that I can do that.
yeah.
So
I
like last,
I got a coach as part of the runner's diary
yeah,
package, and I prior to that I had been using Runner as well. But the
yeah,
interesting thing with the coach is that, and it's Kieran McKeown is his name. I think the last time we were chatting about Kieran, like everyone knew him, but yeah, he's called at the cranky coach, but he's not really cranky. But the interesting thing about him is that if I was in that situation, or if Ivan is in that situation now as well, you can say, I only could do 16 this week. Should I up it? And he'll either go, nah, don't worry about it, or
yeah,
give you some advice. And that was very reassuring. Whereas sometimes without the experience, I don't know
Yeah,
what I'm supposed to do. And I remember one
yeah,
of the days he had given me a long kind of we say 5K in the morning or 10K total, but I had a 5K race. So I said to him, should I run
mm,
5K in the morning and then
mm,
do the 5K race in the evening? And he's going, no, absolutely not. Your
yeah. I
body's not
know.
used to it. And
Yeah,
the advantage of the physical coach is gives you that, but then you have the experience to know your body as well, which is good. And
I
if you're
do. And I got injured previously. I've torn my calf previously, so I think that's kind of still held me back mentally because I'm almost afraid to kind of push myself to try and go, say, 4:15, 4:10. But I am kind of getting braver now. I suppose I've been trying to get below the 4:25, but I've been picking places like Westport and Cork that are quite hilly. I really do. My aim for my next marathon is to try and pick a flat route, whether that's here or go abroad to say Berlin or Amsterdam
yeah.
and try and do that. I've Dingle half marathon now in 2 weeks, so I don't think I'll be breaking any records for that now with the hills. But I'm going down there for the scenery and the experience of doing it. So
So what would your
uh,
half marathon time be?
it would be about my best is 1:54, but I'm averaging around 2:05 there now at the minute.
But that's fairly quick then, isn't it? I mean, so
Yeah.
you definitely could do 4:15 in a marathon.
Yeah.
You know
I think I could. Yeah, I think I could.
the marathon, the half marathon that we did in Youghal, I
Yeah.
had only just gone under 2 hours once.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Oh,
so
very good. Yeah, so
so-
that's nice to hear actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I had did it in 1:59, I think, or
Yeah.
1:58, and then I did
Mm.
Cork in 4:10. So if you're definitely faster than me in half marathons, you definitely could do it, I think.
I think so. I had only had surgery on the in the October before Cork, and sorry, Westport was in April and Cork was in June. So it was a bare 6 months, and I was starting a marathon training cycle 3 months after having surgery, and I was still having some complications. So it probably wasn't ideal, but I went for it anyway. I kind of had said, look, I'll give the training a go, and then Cork, a ticket came up for Cork, so I probably did push my body to the max, in that 6 month period, post op recovery, and then, trying to do two marathons in 8 weeks and very hilly routes. I remember I didn't realize how hilly Westport was until my partner Larry the night before was like, Laura, have you looked at the elevation on this? And I was like, no, it's too late now.
And does he run?
No, he don't. No, he would do up to 5Ks, but yeah, yeah, but no, he's my coach. He's brilliant. He's like just so good for going. You need to get sleep. You need to eat properly. You need to fuel the days that I'll forget to do it, or if I'm working late, that kind of way. So yeah, he's brilliant. Yeah, he's great.
And would you follow the kind of carb loading kind of days before the marathon planning as well, or
I would try. So it's 2 days beforehand. I try and do it. Say if we had the marathon on the Saturday, I would probably start carb loading more on the Thursday because I find if I'm trying to get everything on the Friday, I'm nearly really, really full. So
yeah, yeah,
I think the week of marathon week, your sleep, say from the Monday to the Thursday, are key, I think. Especially if you're, say, was it Dublin's on the Sunday. So even you're never going to sleep that great on the Saturday night before it, you've travel or nerves and everything. So I always think even if you can get your good sleep coming up to the Friday night, it kind of, it bodes you much better, I think, than trying to cram in that sleep or cram in all those carbs on the Saturday. I would have definitely tried to get my electrolytes in. Often I would have been working a long shift on the Friday before the marathon. So I would try maybe I would drink 2 or 3 liters of water a day anyway, but I'd add an electrolyte to them on the Friday and the Saturday, just one tablet in one of the liters. Just, I don't know if it's a psychological thing or not, but I definitely feel it helps the 2 days beforehand. Yeah.
I think if you feel it helps, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
because there's so much. Even as we were getting close, we were almost having the same meals on a Saturday night because it worked on the Sunday, and
Oh, completely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you didn't
It's
want to
all
change.
down to the rituals, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
I did a sweat test as well with precision fueling. Um,
oh, right.
and so he had told me to take an electrolyte the morning of as well to take the so
Yeah,
I
I
did.
take the morning off as well. Yeah.
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 It it is it is interesting to hear, someone from the medical profession talking about the things that they do that I'm going, well, at
Yeah.
least that's right. I'm getting that right. If she
Yes.
must be,
Yeah.
it's reassuring to know that you
Because I've
wouldn't have.
seen all the stuff, people drinking electrolytes every single day, and I don't agree with that. Like, I've seen, say, online people drinking electrolytes and they're not doing any activity. It seems to be a bit of a buzz thing at the minute. And I'm like, that's not great for your body because you should be getting your electrolytes in from your water and your food and everything. But like if you're going out running a 30-kilometer run, taking an electrolyte tablet or your long runs, especially in the heat, is definitely going to benefit you, I think. Even if it's in the mind, it's going to get you through that long
Yeah,
run. Absolutely. What I have found amazing, and I only started using them after I used them in Cork and Westport were the salt chews. They were a bit of a game changer for me now. And I think after working in the medical tent and seeing how dehydrated people were and the amount of sweat that you lose is incredible. And when you're running along, you actually don't realize how much you're losing. It's only when you stop a run, you're drenched. I don't know if you've ever noticed that yourself, but you'd never kind of be running along going, God, I'm soaking. It's only when you stop, but you're losing. We underestimate how much we lose. So I found for any of the warm weather, the salts they just give you that kind of a boost.
you see,
Definitely.
having done the sweat test, I thought I
Yeah.
was a heavy sweater. He told me
Yeah.
that I wasn't a heavy sweater.
Oh, that's
Um,
interesting.
but I wouldn't necessarily be soaked, but I definitely wouldn't have a
Yeah.
residue. Some people get a residue in
Yeah.
their face and things.
Yeah.
So he was going that I possibly wouldn't need as much salt during
Yeah.
the run as, so I'm going to try, I have a long run on Sunday now, so I'm going to try just the salt tablets. They're just too little and I'll see how that works. But
Yeah. I tried salt tablets and the Alter Nutrition I tried this year.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, I've been using that now for the training cycles for Dingle, and I quite like it actually because I I find the gel's fine, but I do get a very sick stomach, and other that's a whole subject on its by itself.
Another
Like the girl,
podcast.
my God, yeah, I could write a book on it. But yeah,
So,
I find them good.
so, y-
That drink.
so you just take drinks mix, is it?
No, I bring the gels as well. So I brought the Alter. So say I did a half marathon 2 weeks ago, just as a training run. And I brought the Alter drink and a Rice Krispie bar, and I think it was a banana. Like I kind of looped the car, and I was fine. I felt like really good on it. So it was my first time doing a half marathon without gels, actually.
Okay.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that would say averaging 2 hours.
yeah. 2 hours, 5 minutes.
So how did you fuel banana rice cake and altar?
So I brought the Alter in the bottle with me.
Five.
Did the pre-mix 500 mils. Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
I actually had the Cork Marathon bottle, and then I had the Rice Krispie bar in my little belt, and then I looped back to get the banana then off the car. So yeah, and I think did I have jellies? I might have had jellies with me as well, like a little bar, small packet of Haribo's. But
Okay.
yeah, it felt good because I had got to the Phoenix Park. I decided to go for a run there, and I went, oh, I have no gels. Do I need gels? And because I nearly like a security blanket having a gel, but I was fine on the Alter. I don't know, would I go longer with just the Alter and snacks? Say, I definitely think I would need the gels. And I find the caffeine gel, like you, in the last half an hour. I'm not sure again if it's psychological. I definitely think it gives you that bit of extra pep when you just need it in that last half an hour of a race.
It definitely wasn't psychological the first time I took it. The first time, well, I mean, I had tried it in training. I didn't just go out and do it in a race. But the first race, I think it was the Kinsale 10 mile. And I took it,
Yeah,
like I said, last week, I took the first one maybe, I don't know, 40 minutes before the end. And I was definitely going, jeepers, this is fabulous. And I
yeah,
could literally feel myself running faster,
right.
not
Yeah,
feeling it.
yeah.
But
I took I think it was Dublin, the second Dublin I tried it. And I looked and I was like, God, I'm really tipping along. And it took me a few minutes to make the connection. Oh, I've had a caffeine gel. So
Yeah.
I always hold one for the last half an hour in the race just to get that extra. Just, I definitely think as much as it's psychological, there is definitely, it's caffeine. It's going to help.
But
Um,
if you had the Alter in a 500 ml bottle for
yeah,
that run, that would be the equivalent to 2 gels, wouldn't it,
yeah,
approximately?
yeah,
Um, and then your banana and your rice. So yeah, you probably that that was probably the correct amount of fuel, wasn't it?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's it's the worry then when you start going into marathons for 4 hours.
yeah. That's it. Yeah, absolutely. I think you would need a bit more. I try and fuel every 5 to 6 kilometers, say 5 to 6 kilometers. So what I do is I have a Garmin watch and there's actually like a feature on it and you can set it to remind you to drink or eat every 6 or 5 kilometers. So you set it to whatever you want. And I find it's brilliant because it kind of takes the thinking out of it for you, especially in a race. You're not going, you kind of lose track as the miles go up. So this just buzzes on my wrist every 6 kilometers. Take a drink. So I'm not going, oh God, did I take a drink at the last one? Did I eat something at the last
Hmm.
one? Because I find I lose track. So I find that great, but I do find getting the fuel in early, getting the drinks in early definitely helps because otherwise I think you're on the back foot. Your body's trying to catch up and burn that glucose and take down those fluids, and it's working harder than it should already. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
find getting it in early
You see,
really makes a difference.
I find with the gel, it's easier to take and easier to keep track of because you can almost take them if you're taking them every half hour. You can almost take
Yeah,
them the first 5 minutes, whereas the drinks mix I have to kind of start it 10 minutes before I normally would start it. So it's
yeah,
over a 20-minute period. And then I start
yeah,
looking at my watch and I'm going, jeepers, I can't, I can't figure out where
yeah.
I am anymore. But you are a nurse and you have lots of experience. But I know you have a story about your plantar fasciitis and how it emerged. And there is a solution there as a nurse. And maybe that's a good way to kind of bring this particular episode to an end.
This is a really funny tip now for your listeners. So I find when I have done like a long run and I know it's there and I can
Plantar
feel it.
fasciitis.
I've often say gone out for dinner that night in a pair of wedges or heels. It's gone the next morning.
Or is that
It's
because you're kind
whatever,
of,
yeah. So it's whatever way the fascia is stretched in the heels, the pain is completely gone.
oh, I'll
Like
try that.
there you go now. That's for all the men listening. This is where the heels come in.
Yeah, why are you wearing heels? It's, yeah, because it is because I had more of an Achilles,
Yeah.
way back 2 or 3 years
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
But it's the same sort of thing. It's the stretching, it's the tippy toe, it's
That's
all
it.
those things. So high heels, that must be the key. I'll let
That's
Ivan
it.
know.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. All the physios will be going, no. Yes, I tried it a couple of times, and each time I'm like, God, the pain is gone.
Wow, that is an amazing solution. We won't hold it down. I don't think we'll be seeing it in any medical books. But yeah, it's been brilliant talking to you, Laura. It's been fantastic having you on the show this week. Really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much.
Next week, we're going to have Clodagh O'Neill talking about her very first race, which was the Cork City Marathon. But you can follow us on all the usual social media platforms. Give us a like, subscribe, and follow. But for this week, and for Laura, thanks for listening.